Okay. Well, you know, let me start with last weekend. Last weekend was an opportunity to get a sweep, so we didn't want to just settle for splitting. I mean, that's what you hope for, but we had an opportunity to get a sweep, and I thought our guys followed our game plan exactly the way I wanted, and Williams Goss did just a great job of making us pay for not paying as much attention to him. So I'll take full credit for that. This week coming up is another opportunity. You're playing a team that's behind you in the standings, so you want to make sure you take advantage of your home court in a situation like that. And then you're playing a team that's above you in the standings, and you want to take advantage of your home court in that situation too. I think both games are brilliant opportunities for us to keep moving forward. We've got an opportunity to go above 500 again, which is exciting, and I'm looking forward to the guys playing well. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Craig, defensively in the second half, was it just guys not rotating quick enough? It looked like CJ wasn't boxed out a couple times. You got some second chance buckets. Was it just those little things?
Yeah, what I saw in watching the film was that it was a couple of key breakdowns, but it was a little bit more of us taking a couple of quick shots that gave them runouts. And then I thought we were guarding too far out on a team like Washington. You have to keep it packed in. We were doing such a good job of packing it in and making them take some long twos and keeping Wilcox under control. I just thought we didn't do that after we had been doing it all game. So that combined with taking some quick shots, and then sort of kind of everybody tried to take a shot to get us back into the game, and that's just not how we get back into games.
Was that something, not to pick out Hal specifically, but he's the guy that I remember taking some quick shots in the show. Was that something you talked to him about, maybe because just youth?
Actually, he beat me to the punch and talked to me about it in the locker room. I mean, I was trying not to let him take the credit for he was trying to take the blame for the loss, and it wasn't his to take. And the great thing about this team, that everything they do it in good conscience. It wasn't, he didn't take those shots maliciously being selfish. He's trying to help the team win.
Your team's given up some big point totals in the second half of a few Pac-12 games. Now, is there any factors that keep coming up that you're able to point to there?
Yeah, there could be a little fatigue there. I might have to change up that defensive rotation a little bit in the middle of the half. I've thought about that. And then maybe if maybe I can get us to run some specific offenses that take up more time. The way we play is that if we have something in transition, I let the guys take it, and sometimes that's like giving them a loaded gun. So I've thought about that. There are a couple of things we can do, but I don't want to take away their confidence in being offensive. So there's a fine line, and there's something. Put it this way, Jesse, I've thought about it. I think there's some things we can do to maybe stem some of that.
Craig, winning 2 of 3, impressive game against Oregon, right there with Washington. How much of this now is confidence just continuing to build? Are you sensing that?
Yeah, the thing that I sensed in this last away weekend was that it's possible, and I don't want to put too much pressure on the guys, but it's possible that they're starting to believe the way the staff believes, that they're good enough to play against any team. And I got to tell you, every single game that I'm game planning for now, I feel like we can win, and I think they're starting to feel that. And you can tell it by the way they start the game, the way they're starting halves, and I just have to help them be more consistent in that middle third of the second half.
Coach, what have you seen out of Devon since his stellar performance Saturday?
Since his performance on Saturday, or during his performance Saturday?
Is he more confident to you? Or?
Well, I haven't. We had the day off, so I haven't seen him since Saturday. But I suspect that he's going to be feeling pretty good, pretty confident. He was in the gym yesterday. I didn't see it, but I heard it. So I think what's happening is he's reaping the benefits of the extra work he's doing.
Craig, remember last year with Devon, you talked about when he was in that six-man role coming off the bench, you got to feel the game a little bit come out. Is it some of that this year, or is it more the work that you're talking about?
It's probably a combination of both, Stephen. I think the reason why he got into I won't call it a slump, let's call it a malaise, was it started when we were in Hawaii, and I think a place like that, you don't get to work on your game, not because it's Hawaii, but because you're playing so many games in a row. And then when he got back, it continued because he didn't really work on his game. And then once he realized that there might be a cause and effect there, I thought that he's been in what we call in the lab, getting some extra work done, and really focused. So I think it's a combination of seeing the game and then coming in and being able to do it. But I think it's more of the fact that he's been putting the work in.
Would you like him in that six-man role?
Well, I do, but I don't know if I like him better in the starting role. You know what I mean? I like having a guy, and if you guys remember when we had Roberto coming in, Roberto was easily a starter who was playing a six-man role. And I just like having a weapon coming off the bench that can give you some volume of points. It just makes it hard for the second team of the opponent to play against you. So do I like him? I like him coming off the bench, but I like him in there. So yes and yes.
In that same regard, the starting lineup that you've had since you guys came back into town after that opening weekend has worked pretty well for you. I mean, are you satisfied with that starting five?
I am, but I don't want to say it so that I'm locked in. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm locked into that. I don't want to say I like it and then change my mind this week because I see a matchup potential. So I do like it, and I like the roles that we have right now, but that's always subject to change. Devon is a guy who would love to start. Everybody would love to start, but if he helps us more coming off the bench, that's where I think I'm going to keep him. But having said that, I could change my mind, especially when we play these longer teams. I mean, in the game we're playing on Thursday, they play three guards and two big guys, so I think we're matched up nicely with them. So I suspect that we'll stick with that lineup.
Eric's been pretty inconsistent. I think he's averaging 15 and 13 at home versus 3 and 5 on the road. So do you put any stock into that? Do you have any?
What do you mean, do I put any stock to that?
The road home splits.
No, I just think that he's still finding his way playing, so how many games has he played?
7.
And everybody else has played 17, 18, I don't know. So I just think he's still finding his way. He wouldn't tell you this, but he was under the weather this past weekend. We were, hitting him with a lot of liquids and stuff. So no, I don't. There's still, he needs more data for me to say he doesn't do something at home and does it away. That's the distinction you're making, right? Yeah, he had a pretty good game at Colorado. So yeah, I guess I don't put any stock to what you're saying.
He is, his points though, he's kind of an unorthodox kind of guy, isn't he though, Coach, in terms of how he gets his points?
Yeah, and we run very little for Eric specifically, so he gets his points the way he gets them: offensive rebounds, hustle plays, steals, just taking it to the basket on his own. And all of that is still kind of raw for the season. So Eric is the one thing that's consistent in all those games is how hard he plays. He plays hard with a lot of energy. And if anything, this past weekend, he might have been a little bit under the weather. But other than that, we like having him out there.
Roberto had no turnovers on Saturday. What was kind of working with him there, and is that something you can build off of?
Well, I think we only had 5 turnovers, so that was a point of emphasis. So we're trying to keep our turnovers down. especially on the road, and after having, we had 20 turnovers and ended up winning a game. We said to our team, just think if we only have 5 turnovers, what we can do. And go figure. We have 5 turnovers and lose, and we have 20 turnovers and win. So I just think that we're getting better as a team in a lot of different ways. We just have to get better in everything at the same time and execute that all at once.
You alluded a little bit to USC. How did you match up with them? Really kind of report on USC and UCLA?
Yeah, well, USC is going to be a tough team because, number one, they're good enough to beat anybody in our conference. I mean, they showed that by beating Cal. Number two, they're trying to get wins, and they're probably pretty desperate. We've been in those shoes before, and so that makes them extremely dangerous. They've got size to match up with our size, and they've got scoring ability to match up with our scoring ability. We're going to have to be able to stop them from doing what they want to do on offense, and at the same time, we can't let them stop us from doing what we're doing. I like I said at the outset, I like having this game at home to start out with, and it's going to be a tough matchup. Saturday's matchup, I haven't really taken a real good look at them, but they're long, athletic, they shoot the ball well, and they're at the top of our conference. So, again, it's great to have them at home, and I don't have too many details, but, it's almost like the same game. We have to prevent them from scoring. They like to score a lot, too.
There's been some weird matchups so far in the league this year. Utah playing Arizona fairly tough in Tucson. Does that kind of show? I mean, what are your thoughts on the league? And that
Well, yeah, I believe that anybody can beat anybody on a given night. It seems to me, and I haven't done any empirical study, but it feels like intuitively home court plays a big role. But the Arizona-Utah game was a little bit different. I think it just gets harder and harder every game for a team to go undefeated. I mean, there's just I can't even imagine the amount of pressure that's on those guys. So, I don't want to take anything away from that. It's just hard winning every single game you play and getting up for everybody's best game. But I really feel like that from week to week, anything is possible, and it's just fun being a part of that. It's fun having a team that can take advantage of that. And with us having now, at this point, more home games left than away games, it's just a good position. I use this term a lot. It's a lot of opportunity, and we have to take advantage of it.
Do you look at this weekend then being especially pivotal before you guys hit the road for three tough games?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say it's especially pivotal, but when you're this close to 500 and the league is the way it is, it is. I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, that the Stanford game was really important, which made the Cal game really important. And then you lose the Cal game, which makes the Oregon game really important. And you win that one, and it makes the next game against Washington State really important. So yes, we are at yet another pivotal game.
Craig, you mentioned Hal's coming up to you and trying to take the blame for the loss.
Yes.
Is that just a sign of his maturity?
It is, and you know what? It's a sign of his self-perception. In this day and age where guys don't want to take accountability for things, it was refreshing to have a guy walk up to you and say, "This was on me," and he was saying it in the locker room to everybody for everybody to hear, and I just had to calm him down a little bit. But it doesn't happen often, and it shows a level of maturity. It shows a level of accountability, but it also shows some leadership, was what I liked. I mean, here you have a freshman who's just been starting a few games, and he wants to take credit for our biggest game of the year on the road so far. So it's pretty cool.
Angus did a really big 3 on Saturday, but that isn't something we've seen him do much this year compared to 2 seasons ago. So is that something you want to see more out of him, or?
At the right time, he's still figuring out when to take his three and when not to take it. And part of the reason why our focus is so much to get the ball inside to him that sometimes he's thinking about passing up a good shot to get an even better shot, which is the right way to think. Except if you're a guy like Angus, who an even better shot is for him to take a three. So he's still trying to figure that out, and that comes with the confidence of coming off an injury. But I like him when he's wide open and he's standing still taking that shot, because for him it's like a foul shot, and he's a pretty good foul shooter.
What would that do for your offense if he shows the ability to get that
Just give us another opportunity to score with with a different kind of matchup. So if he's able to do that, not only is he a hard matchup for a big guy who's guarding him, if somebody tries to switch off and put a smaller guy on him, like a 7-footer on him, he can bring him out and make that shot. So it just adds to the toolkit.
Great, a few days away. I know you're not really thinking about UCLA.
Yep.
But do you like the idea of having a game, big-time program coming in here on Super Bowl Sunday?
Man, yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that until right now. It's tough, and it's something that, so we've benefited from it in the past, and it's hurt us in the past. But it's great, as you mentioned, having a really good team come in might help, It's tough playing on Super Bowl Sunday, but it's just the nature of it, I'm hoping the students show up and then go watch the football game later. The way our student section has been, I'm confident. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about it. It is Super Bowl Sunday, isn't it? Way to bust my bubble. I was feeling.
The media, by the way, are all for it. We love the idea of a game on Super Bowl Sunday.
You do?
No.
Oh, okay. You're being facetious. I was thinking, why would you like a game on Super Bowl Sunday? Yeah, I just, it's the way it is, and we just play with the hand we're dealt.
I heard that you're closing practice to the media, which is unusual for you. Is that a focus thing?
No, it is not a focus thing.
Can you elaborate? Will you elaborate, I should say?
I mean, I think the relationship that I have with you guys is that it's a relationship, and if you guys abuse it, then I'll treat you like everybody else treats you. If you don't abuse it, then I'll open it back up again. Is that what you wanted, Stephen?
That's good.
Getting back to the defense, your team's allowed 74 points average in the conference game. Do you feel like your team is better than that, or has the potential to be better than that?
From a point standpoint?
Yeah.
I like scoring a lot of points, but, I'd take a 55-50 game if you win it. So what I think we have to focus on are parts of the game, our defensive side. I think our offense, we can score points. We can score enough points to beat just about everybody in this league. It is the focus of the defense. That's really where my focus is every day. And then we try and make sure that we're prepared for any kind of defense we're going to see. And if we do that, if we keep getting good at that, we're going to get to be a pretty darn good team.
Have you seen the defense like?
Yeah, I've seen it for the most part, but then there's sort of, it's not a perfectly sloped curve. There's some fits and starts in there, but we're trending upwards. And I really, really have been pleased with our man-to-man defense. I mean, it's light years from where it was last year. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect, but if I get the rotations right during that time when we have a lull, because you have lulls in offense and everybody notices it because you don't score, and there are lulls in defense when the other team scores. If I can shore us up on that point, I think we're in pretty good shape. I mean,
How much better can that make a team like yours when you're able to
well,
throw that man in there and kind of mix it up a little bit?
it bodes well for us because people still have to prepare for our matchup. They have to prepare for our 2-3 zone. They have to prepare for our 1-3-1 zone as well as our man-to-man. So that gives us a little bit of advantage. They have to prepare for 4 things, and we know what we're going to play most of the time.
Coach, you said USC has a lot of height, but how do you kind of compare their post defense compared to other Pac-12 teams?
USC?
Yeah.
That kid Arabi is really big, and if he's around the basket, it's going to make it hard for us to get stuff down low. So, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to play a little bit of zone and a little bit of man. And when they're in man, that's when we have to use Angus in the way of pulling that guy away from or whoever he's guarding. Maybe he's guarding Eric, I don't know. But or Devon, pull him away from the basket because that kid's long and he's 7 feet tall and he's a good player. And then they have another 7-footer who comes in behind him. So and then when they play zone, when he's in there, we've got to make sure we're taking good shots, the shots that have a chance of going in. So it's not going to be an easy task, and I'm here to tell you, having been in that position where you're one and or you're looking for your first road win, your team plays hard all the time, and every single game you have a chance of winning.
Craig, you seen any difference from the USC in the way the style with first year under Andy Enfield?
In watching the tape. And I didn't watch any of his tapes at his old place, so I can't compare. But I think they're playing very similar to what they played last. Actually, defensively, very similar. Offensively, they're a little bit more freer to do things individually than they were last year. I thought last year they were in a very tight, compact room where they could only do a few things outside of the box. They look more freer and they look like they're having more fun. So that's a harder guard than it was last year. So, but then you're comparing 2 different coaches. So
they're also really good offensive rebounding team. And that's an area where you guys got hurt a little bit against UW in the second half.
Yep.
You pounding that home in practice?
Oh yeah, we are. And we have been rebounding pretty well, so I'm just going to try and get them refocused on that. I'm not, the basketball is such a mental and emotional game. I want them to feel like there's only a couple little tweaks we need to do, and then we're right there. Because that's what I feel. I mean, if I thought this was going to be, if I thought we had a big glaring hole, I'd be a little bit more nervous. But like I said, I really feel like we have to tweak a few things, and this team is ready to be really good.
How do you see Malcolm's growth this year? The big shot he hit out of the corner kept you alive in Seattle on Saturday. That was a big-time shot. How do you see his season coming along?
I see it coming along, progressing nicely. As a matter of fact, just the way the rotation has been, he's probably gotten less minutes than he could have gotten. I mean, when you're coaching a team and you have a couple of young guards, it just comes down to confidence. And every time I put him in there, he does something to make me think he's gonna. He gives me confidence that he's gonna do what's right. And it's not just making shots, Mike. It's running the offense. It's guarding your guy, and he's got it all. And that's going to start to show because I'm feeling more and more comfortable putting him in the game. It's the same thing. It was the same process with Hallis. It just started earlier with Hallis, and I suspect it's going to happen with Shea. He's really progressing in practice. It's just he's got less of opportunity because there are 2 guard spots and there's only 1 center spot.
Home teams have done really well in the Pac-12 this season. Do you think that says anything about the conference, about how even it might be, or?
Yeah, I just think that it's hard to win on the road anywhere, but especially in conference.
Angus has put together 5 straight games in double figures. Is this close to what you were hoping before when he got back to 100%? Obviously, he's had the injury issues earlier this season.
Yeah, I am probably more nervous about Angus than he is now. It's sort of flipped. At the beginning of the season, I think I was more confident than he was, and then when he started playing really well, he started getting his confidence back. Then he got the scare in Hawaii, and then it was like, ugh, and then we're both like worried about it. But to see him, have that good game at Washington State, that was the first away game that he played well, and then to see him come back in Washington and have not a bad game, another pretty decent game, is giving both of us a lot of confidence. But I still think there's a little bit more room for him. There's a little bit more ceiling. He is, we were talking about with Grady about him taking that shot that, I think when you see him comfortably pulling up 3 or 4 times from the three-point line, along with all the other stuff he's doing, then you're getting back to the sort of pre-surgery Angus that we saw before he got hurt.
How far off do you think that is?
It's a confidence thing, I think. I think he's now he's getting a swagger back. I think we're not that far away. I mean, he's in the gym every day, and that shot goes in all the time. Like I said, he's just trying to play a perfect game, and you can't do that when you're playing basketball. You got to play, make some mistakes so you can reap some of the risk-reward matrix.
We've been talking all about a lot of things, it seems, Coach, and Roberto Nelson has scored 26 and 31. Hasn't even come up. I'm wondering how you observe his almost uncanny ability to score.
Yeah, it's except for in this room, that's been the question. I did the Pac-12 media conference, and everybody's asking that question. I think there are a few things that work. First and foremost, Roberto's a fifth-year senior, so he's older, he's much more knowledgeable, and he's much more comfortable. He has been a treat to coach over the last couple of years. He went from sort of being and not in a bad way, but a combatant with how kids don't give themselves over nowadays right away. Everybody's got an opinion, and he was one of those guys. He thought he could coach the team, and the last 2 years, he's just realized that we may know a little bit, and he's allowed us to coach him, and it's just his game has just blossomed. The third thing is that what makes him such a good scorer is he's just not a one-dimensional guy. He can shoot with distance. He can shoot up close. He can take his man to the basket off the ball screen. He can take his man to the basket when there's no screen. And he gets fouled. So you add all those things up, that's hard to guard. Did I mention that he can shoot a pull-up? I mean, that pull-up is dynamite. I mean, I think his pull-up is better than his long shot. But he shoots from so far away that you have to honor it. So that makes the person who's guarding him susceptible to the ball fake, and then you got an outnumbering situation. And then finally, you put all that together, and he's looking for his other guys. I mean, that's pretty good. And I've heard more than one person, when I'm watching the film, talk about how he has the greenest of green lights, which is a pretty interesting way to put it. But, you don't just get the green light, and not from me. I mean, you get, and we don't call it the green light. We call it carte blanche because the guys don't know what that means, He has carte blanche, and do you guys know what that means? You know what carte blanche is? Yeah, you have no idea what carte blanche is. Well, carte blanche was one of the first credit cards there ever was. Carte blanche means white card, and you could just lay it down and anywhere in the world you could, and not everybody got it. It was sort of the precursor to American Express. So he has carte blanche, which means that he can pretty much shoot at his own discretion. Now, that doesn't mean he can take stupid shots. The only way you get carte blanche is if you don't take stupid shots. And he's at a point now where sometimes he tries to force the action toward the basket, but his shots are pretty good. So he has my utmost confidence when it comes to scoring.
And he doesn't abuse it.
And he oh, that's the best part about it, Mike. I'm sorry, I didn't even. That was my main point. Is he hasn't abused it. I mean, he's always looking for others, and you know, there are games when he takes 11 shots, and then there are games where he takes 17 shots, and every single one of them, I feel like okay, I feel like that one's going in, and when it doesn't go in, I'm surprised. So, you know, you live and die by it, but I'm pretty confident.
Does anybody else have it?
Carte blanche. Olaf has carte blanche. Yeah, but if you have carte blanche, it's usually from 3. Yeah, Olaf can't just kind of, he can't do everything, but he has carte blanche for 3.
Would you like to see Angus shoot more of the sky hook? He seems to really do well with it, but it doesn't come out very often.
No, you know, his jump hook has gotten to be so good. The sky hook isn't, you know, he was shooting the sky hook because his jump hook wasn't developed yet. You know, I think in this kind of rough and tumble conference stuff, if you shoot the sky hook and you get hit down around here, nobody calls that, you know. So you want to take a shot that has a good chance of going in, even if you get bumped down low and they're not going to call it. And the jump hooks worked really well for him. I mean, it seems automatic. I mean, every time he takes that, I feel like it's going in.
And yet, I thought I heard you say that, generally speaking, you've not been a huge fan of the jump hook with players. I thought that his works.
I have been more of a sky hook guy, but with the physicality of the game, I understand why that works better for some guys. Certainly for, I mean, and the more I watch these NBA guys, you just have to take enough of them because to me, that's a harder shot than the sky hook. The sky hook's an easier shot.